Hi guys, so you all heard me talk about the solar console and Kadishtu beings that I work with and how I connect with them and telepathically communicate and participate in their meetings. But I want to tell you guys what it actually means and how solar console actually works with humankind. What it looks like, what is the process of how they communicate, interact, and impart different energy patterns. So watch this video and you'll know more about the solar console. Solar console is a group of beings that oversees what's going on in the solar system. Not just the planet Earth, but the entire solar system. So everybody who's involved within the solar system, which would be, first of all, the sun as an entity itself, and planets as entities, and all sorts of other non-physical beings. And it's multidimensional as well. So within 7 dimensions of this sort of solar system itself, there are many beings on many different dimensions. So the entire system, the entire neighborhood, is what solar console deals with. Our planet Earth is one of the worlds within that has life on it in, we're learning here within the 3rd dimension. There are other worlds that have life on them as well, other planets that don't exist, materially, like in a physical plane, in a 3D, all we see is the rock or a gaseous cloud. But energetically, there's actually life on them. I'm not going to go into that today. But there's all sorts of different cultures, different beings that live here, some native to the solar system, some are not. So the souls that are native to this planet are the souls we call Earthlings. Those are the souls that one group entity, essentially, that's split into many souls and is exploring the reality here on a planet Earth in a 3rd dimension. Starseeds are the beings that came here from somewhere else, from different realities. Most of them are not from the solar system, right? Usually we come from different star systems when we have already learned something, and then we come here in order to sort of support and help and transmute some of the confusion or negative detours that are going on here. In other words, we come here to do something to help out. And there's also a personal learning component as well. So in this planetary sort of environment, there are beings that are human beings that live here in a 3rd dimension that are native to the planet. Then there are beings like starseeds who are inside human bodies but don't come from the soul group of the Earthlings, that's us. Then there are also beings that are not in human form but live on this planet. Some are very advanced conscious beings, some are not. But they all coexist here within this simulation of the planet Earth. And some of them are able to show up here in the 3rd dimension, so they are able to interface in a form that looks very human to with us, the human beings here. But some cannot. There are beings that look human-like. That does not make them human because their DNA is very different, but they have the same blueprint as a humanoid being that live in the next subharmonic of this planet. So that would be what generally is called Agartha. But some of that is within the inside of the planet. Some of it is on the surface, but just at a different frequency range. In the mountains, a lot of times, there are portals to interface between the 3rd dimension and the next one up, the 4th. So those are the pathways for how those beings that are living here, sharing the planet with us, but choose not to interact with us because they're more advanced, sometimes they can come into this reality as well if they do choose to have an interaction with a 3rd dimensional being in a human form like us. So then there are also beings that are less conscious, and some are very ancient, some are not so ancient, but most of them are native to the planet. There are beings of the 2nd dimension as well, like Sasquatch being one of them. It's a conscious entity that has incredible codes of light in it. that genetically is related to us, but not very much exactly like the human, but sort of an offshoot in a different direction. So we have the same root. Human DNA code was made from that, just like the Sasquatch, but it's sort of branched out in different directions. So we tend to think of them as, you know, some animal. It's not actually an animal. It's a very conscious being, but not conscious in the sense how we're speaking, like technologically conscious or mentally evolved. It's a being that conscious in the sense of more connected with oneness, related through emotions on the astral level, able to communicate and resonate with reality in a very different way. So they, in some ways, are way more advanced than us. And as far as the intellect and ability to apply linear thinking, we're more advanced than them. But we're sharing the planet with them as well. There's actually about 10,000 of them alive right now on the planet in a physical form that are able to shift between second and third dimension consciousness. Then there are beings of reptilian type. There are many beings of reptilian types, and most of them are not from this planet and are negative. But not to say all reptilians are negative. I don't like that idea that people tend to nowadays think like, oh, reptilian is bad. No, reptilian is just another form. It's more electrical form. It's form that doesn't have as many emotions. It does have access to them if it's a balanced enough being, just not as much. They're more basic. But they could have an incredible code of honor and strong intellect and all sorts of things. Not all reptilians are bad or unconscious. So there are some that live inside this planet that are of reptilian type, that are ancient. They evolved from the dinosaurs. They now are humanoid, sort of, as far as bipedal and vertical, but they still reptilian. They have very much different abilities than we do. We would call those abilities psychic compared to what humans can do. They don't have technology the way we have developed technology, so they are in a sense similar to Sasquatch. They chose the path of more magnetic connectedness with life and resonance, which is kind of unusual if you think about it, because Sasquatch as a from, you know, monkey direction, which is mammalian, and those reptilian beings are from very electric reptilian direction, and yet they both chose the same pathway of being more in connection with life than we are. Tells you something about humankind, right? And the choices we make. So those beings, the reptilian ones that live inside the planet, choose not to communicate with humans much because they have very different view on us. They see us as less conscious and probably can eat us, I would think, because they do eat meat. I don't think they hunt us. I have not seen that. But they definitely are not that interested in communication with humans. They see it rather pointless. So that's another group of conscious beings that we're sharing the planet with. And then there are, as I said, the humanoid ones that are like Anshar, the Elven people, the Talosians, people in Siberia that live inside the in the ground, the people who live in the North Pole. There's a huge cavern in there. In Antarctica, there are lots of caverns where all sorts of beings live in there that are human looking, but they're not human. Their DNA is different. There are also beings that used to be human but have ascended to the next level, so we can still think of them as human. Generally, they're usually called ascended masters. So they have reached certain level of mastery inside their human form and evolved to the next level. So they actually shifted their physical body and genetic codes activated to change their biology. They still are essentially humans, but the humans are living on the next frequency level. So those usually are on the fourth dimension. And there's a large group of them in Tibet, inside that mountain, which is usually referred to as Shambhala, and other places. So I'm not going to go into all of them because there are many. The reason I'm talking about all of this is because that's part of what is represented from this planet on the solar console. There are also similar sort of delegations of conscious beings that are represented from other planets in this dimension and other dimensions within our solar system. All that together is what comprises the solar console. It's the entities that have chosen to serve in order to support and guide the entire solar system. We have this incredible large Stargate here, within the neighborhood of the solar system, which is a pathway that kind of like a macrotubular component. We talked about microtubular system within the body. So macrotubular is the bigger one, sort of that connects universally to all sorts of different planets and stars out there. Well, there are some quite major ones, kind of like highways versus roads, and those connect to different galaxies. So we have one here that connects to many different galaxies. It's sort of a major hub, an intersection point, which is why this system is so important and why so many different beings come here. From the bigger macro perspective of the universe, we are the compressed holographic fractal of the bigger picture here. And that compression that twisted us into this super sort of saturated environment has codes from everywhere else, which makes it an incredible hub of energy that has access everywhere, but also makes this place quite unique and interesting for all sorts of different beings to come here. Now, everybody who comes here, they also have to deal with the solar console, because solar console kind of, I don't like the word protect because that implies an enemy, but let's just say it has a border control of this system. So there is a shield in a sense, and beings that vibrate at a certain frequency could freely pass through that. Solar console does not need to interact with them. Beings that are not quite of that frequencies can request access. And if they are approved, because of their learning, because of what they bring in here, whatever, there are many different reasons, they can come here. If they are not approved, then they cannot. And beings who are of the lower energies, they essentially would self-destructive. They try to go through that field. It's not possible. So occasionally there are some holes in it, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But that's another thing that solar console deals with, is mending the fence. So solar console is a sort of composite of different species that work together for the benefit of the entire system. So far I have explained to you guys who is involved. In the next video, I'm going to tell you how the solar console actually interacts with those beings, and also what it looks like inside the solar console as well, so you can have a little bit of an inside view. Be love, be free, be God. Don't forget to subscribe.